care, I just might pack my bags and take off tonight. Don't need the pressure from you.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Cafecito Crew. Mig here, and tonight we have Gio.
Hi, it is I.
And Ariana.
I love that she said, and then Google Hangouts didn't pick her up, so we couldn't see her.
I guess it'll only pick me up if I sing the song. Oh, red again. Oh, red again.
You guys have fancy hats on. I'm jealous.
Well, no, like I said, the only reason I have my hat on is because of the the subject matter that we're talking about today, so I felt it was appropriate.
I'm just a squid. No different than any other day, I guess.
So, I mean, how was everybody's weeks? You know?
So, we're kind of having the conversation before starting the podcast, but me and Ariana were just like overlooking like the old Villainous, the board game. If you guys have never played it, I highly recommend it. I'm pretty sure everyone who's here right now can vouch for me. They just added they just had the announcement for their new expansion, and so Ariana doesn't know who Radican is. So the three people that they had announced was Yzma, Scar, I think. Yeah, I think Scar, and
Yzma, Scar, and then the boy,
and then Radican. And so Ariana has never seen The Great Mouse Detective from like the 1980s, so we started watching it, and oh boy, we slowly realized why I never picked up traction. But the one thing that we did take from the movie was the "Oh Radican, the greatest one of all." It's on YouTube. Just go watch it.
Also, please watch Penguin and the Pebble and just ruin your childhood retroactively. It's great. Please, watch Don't Make Me Laugh.
Don't do that.
No, you have to watch Don't Make Me Laugh, and then just remember it. Pull it out of your pocket in any situation. You're at a party and you feel awkward, just pull out Don't Make Me Laugh.
Yeah, when you watch that video, you ask the important questions like, where do penguins get clothes? And why does this only one penguin have teeth and steroids?
And why is the subtext so rapey?
Honestly, the comments on that freaking video, the comment is what takes it to the next level. Oh my
A lot
God.
of Tim Curry is sexy, which is kind of weird at his advanced age now.
Except I can't get behind fucking the penguin with the teeth and the opposable thumbs. That's not sexy, man.
And the way he holds those letters at the beginning of every word. I'll slap my knee.
Just long enough for you to think it's gonna be something dirty, and then it's not.
You'll love my nostalgia.
My nostalgia. Man, no, and I still remember to this day, like, me and Ariana, like, so excited to watch that movie, because we remembered it from our childhood, and we were sitting in her house on the couch, and we were just like, yeah.
I just have the VHS, so I'm like, why not?
Yeah,
God, you watched this on VHS?
Yeah.
Oh my God,
Yeah,
that's some new details. Oh no.
Yeah, she bust out the, like, dude, it had the old, like, it had the whoa, now your feature presentation.
If I had known, I would have just brought the VHS into my room and just been like, look, I still have it.
Yeah, dude,
I even have
the tape had the previews to the Hunchback of Notre Dame. That's how old it was. Like, No Hunchback was just coming out, and, man, we remembered the movie so different. And then, teeth and appendages.
No. I knew it was bad when it started off with this piano score and this penguin diving through the piano score, and I'm like, I don't remember a half of this shit. I feel like I'm having a bad trip.
Yeah.
I don't like this.
Oh my God. But no, that's pretty much like everything that's been happening with our week. It's just, looking up information on, at least for me.
Well, the important question is, how many pebbles out of 10?
Fuck.
Dust. How about a dust out of 10?
I'll give it 2.5 pebbles.
I'll give it a dust.
Pebbles.
Pebbles.
So my week has been pretty similar. Just to jump in here, but I've been watching animes, mostly Lord Waver's Depression.
I just love the. I've been watching animes.
I've been watching Lord Elamelo's Case Files, or AKA My Son Has Depression and He Needs Help. Writer, please come back. We need to.
I forget that Miguel's a huge Fate fan too. Have you been watching that?
No, I have to.
Oh, well, I'm gonna spoil it right now. Waver has depression. Our son needs a hug.
That kid's been had depression.
No,
he had depression since like episode 6 of Fate Zero.
Yeah,
it's
you're right.
been terrible.
No, but it's really cool though because it really it's starting to like fill in the gap. Like, do you remember spoiler alert? You remember the ending of Fate, or the first Fate, where Iskander goes night night, and
goes into that sweet embrace.
Yeah, he goes into the great phantasm in the sky, and then the series ends, and you see him as like a big prestigious teacher, and like everybody respects him, and so the show really helps to fill in those gaps as to like why he's so respected, why everybody loves him, why he's a depressed asshole.
Yeah, basically. Just to keep this going, I saw the second episode of Fire Force. I'm very confused still. I don't know if I like it or hate it.
No, you like it. You like it.
No. What I like is Demon Slayer is making me adopt another son. I'm liking Boorman. Inosuke, I think is his name. Really like Boorman. I hate it. And that's been my week. Just anime and work, like always.
I love the little tentacle flip though. What about you, Mix?
Well, I fell into a black hole of like cooking videos this week, so I've been watching way too much, like binging with Babish, I guess.
Oh, I love binging with Babish. That dude kicks ass.
I love binging with Babish too, but I can't help it because anytime someone says they've been watching cooking videos, I just think of, let's take a look at that shakshuka.
Oh, you mean Chef John on YouTube?
And then so when I add a little bit of olive oil, but not too much, and he's adding like a whole like thing of olive.
Yeah, imagine like he does this. All right, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna put 2 sprinkles of olive oil.
I've been watching that, and I kind of fell into another black hole just yesterday, and I launched The Messenger. It's another Devolver title. I don't know how I keep gravitating towards Devolver titles, but it's been happening. But God, if you play Ninja Gaiden, this does everything better than old school Ninja Gaiden, and then gives you extra mechanics. So instead of like just having your sword and then whatever power-ups you pick up in that game, and then die a cheap death and lose them, in this game you have so many fewer like deaths, as far as like you don't know what happened. You know it was your fault almost every single time. Even like boss variety kind of eliminates the fact of like cheesiness. So sometimes a dragon will swoop from one angle, and then if you're just playing 2 coins staying too far away, he'll literally like hover and then V-line for you. And so the game's kind of intelligent in that way as far as like boss patterns. But I think what I like about it most is writing. There was like real great stories that you have with the shopkeeper. You can continuously visit this one dude who apparently was the messenger in the past, and he'll sell you stuff, obviously, and you sell your power-ups. So you get a grappling hook, you get your wall claws. They make a callback to Ninja Gaiden there, and they give him a funny name. And then later on, near the end of the game, when you become the shopkeeper, you end up calling back to that while you give a power-up to a new messenger.
Oh, that's cool.
And if you haven't played it in a couple days, you might miss the joke, but I love that. I love that type of writing where it's like, hey, we're going to reward you for sticking with it and reading all these conversations. and the stories were so good. Like you can just ask him for a story, and he'll tell you a story about this kid who was half starving all the time, but he helped this woodcutter, and a woodcutter gave him some bread, but also told him, hey, there's these dwarves that are starving in the forest, so maybe you want to share with them. And so the kid took the bread to the dwarves and literally gave each one half. That's cute, right? But then the kid's still hungry. But what he did, he broke the curse on the dwarves that had this little tiny mill, and the mill could create whatever you wanted. All you had to do was flip the switch and ask for it. So they give the kid the mill. The kid makes a feast for them and goes off with the mill to the town. Town has all sorts of feasts and festivals, and then Sister gets jealous. Sister steals the mill in the middle of the night, along with the last 2 pies from the feast. She goes on their ship and decides to go on an adventure because, hey, she has all these resources now, right? Except she forgot one important thing: how to turn off the mill.
Oh, so it's just wasting resources then.
So she takes a bite of the pie, and she's like, "This needs more salt." Turns on the mill, asks for salt, and the mill produces so much salt that it sinks the ship.
Oh shit!
And to this day, the mill is probably running, and that's why the seas are salty.
That's cute.
Wow, that is so cool.
Cute. I like that story.
What system is this game on?
Oh, it's on everything. It's on Xbox, PlayStation, but I was playing it off of a Game Pass on the PC side because it's part of that package. So Xbox continuing to give me value as far as like I have this $14.99 pass. I can go on at any time and play 160 games, and a lot of them are still new to me, and they're free essentially, and they're really good games. Like I looked at Steam, and you know how on Steam you can only write a review if you own the game. Versus Metacritic, you can write a review just for the hell of it. So you end up getting reviews from a guy with the username I Hate Messenger. Probably bullshit. But this game has a perfect 10 out of 10 on Steam.
Wow.
And so far, I would have to agree with it. Because even if the game were to end the way I thought it was going to end last night, I would have been good. But all of a sudden, it just threw another curveball at me, and now I have to go back in as the messenger because something happens.
Damn.
And I don't want to spoil that.
I think you may have accidentally given me the next game that I'm going to play when I beat Cuphead.
I also forgot something in my week. I started playing Dragon Quest 11.
Builders? Oh.
No, 11. No. I started playing 11. Really like it. There's 2 enemies that are the cutest things ever. Okay? There's one that's called a Hat Witch, and it's a little pig with a big witch hat. It's adorable. Now, the next one is called a Cruel Cumber. It's just a cucumber with the spear. Why not? And there's story stuff, but I'm really, like, early on. Like, I have a few party members. Like, I just gained my quote-unquote mage and my white mage. And I have my thief. But not much has really happened. Like, I'm really early in. I'm only, like, I think 2 hours and 5 minutes. So I can't say much outside of the enemies are really cute.
You know, like, as like weird as it sounds, I've never played a Dragon Quest game.
Me either. This is my first one, and I'm really liking it. Like, surprisingly, I never thought of ever checking it out, and I'm just like, I like this.
The little off-putting thing that I had was the art style reminded me a lot of like Dragon Ball Z.
Because it's from the same guy.
Oh well, I guess that makes a lot of sense.
Toriyama's the artist, yeah.
Oh, I had no idea. But no, I always looked at it and I was just like, oh, Goku's not in this? Well, I'm not playing it.
And as you guys know, my first Dragon Quest is actually Dragon Warrior 2 on the NES. That was the one where I was telling you about the dragons in the bio episode, that weird Hargan green dragon at the end of when you have to save the game and turn it off. All that's left is this freaking dragon in the middle of the screen. It tells you have to turn off this game after you save, and not until we show you this message, for the Hargan does not sleep, and it's going to torture your 8-year-old soul. I'm pretty sure that's what it said.
I remember you saying that word for word. I think you even did the same hand gesture, too.
I mean, that's what it felt like. It felt like I was getting scolded. Like, it was like a darker Rossetti. Like, you better save this game
It was
properly.
Duolingo. Duolingo was breaking into your house to tell you to learn Spanish or vanish.
I hope the dragon also popped out of the bottom of your NES and did this whole shit. Did you reset?
Only when you blow into the cartridge, which is something you're not supposed to do. there was a meme about that the other day. People highlighting the back of the cartridge that says "Do not blow onto contacts." Get out of here!
You know how many games I would have? You know how many games I would have destroyed by now?
Yeah, right, man. Come on. The whole thing about using like alcohol and a console, we didn't have that technology in the 90s. Get out of here.
Use alcohol, you would have spilled it all inside.
Yeah.
Use alcohol. It's not working anymore.
Oh,
it doesn't work.
Also, too, didn't you stream Metro Exodus this week as well?
Yeah, I think we're really close to the end because, Metro did this weird thing to me, like where it was open world, go get this teddy bear, and go, and then the mission structure was kind of weird too because it's like, hey, I really need you to get this teddy bear for my daughter. She's really freaking out. This would give her some normalcy in her life. I totally get it. So I go do that. But there's not really markers or anything. There's a marker on the map, and that's about it. And the game is HUDless, which is cool. But there's a lot of like weird backtracking where you have to whip out the map and like flip it around to see the paragraph of like summary text every once in a while, just to remind yourself because you get kind of lost. And then we got out of that area and it became super linear. And I think that's the part you saw, Gio, which is this very last episode, where the whole mission was completely linear. You guys the guys got caught and you had to fight through it, and it was totally linear. There was no open worldness to it at all. And now I don't even know what to expect, which is, I guess, good, because, I mean, if you don't know what to expect, then the story is at least keeping you off balance, but is that good for game design? I don't know.
Oh my god. So we just had a viewer leave a comment. Said, let's talk about Ratatouille, and then they link the YouTube. I'm gonna link you what they linked me.
Oh, no.
It's 3 hours, but this is legendary.
What is it? Oh god.
What up, Brian? Thank you for joining us.
Surprise! It's your fake Brazilian.
So
sorry, guys.
So we just had a viewer send me this thing, and he says, "Well, let's just talk about Ratatouille."
Yeah.
Oh no!
Fox Pixar, this is legendary. Thank you. It's not legendary.
What is happening? I'm just I'm scrubbing through it, and I'm frightened.
I did the same thing, and I'm so scared. I'm at a section where like the Ratatouille guy looks like a piece of chicken, and he's like popping in and out. Like,
what is happening here? No, I don't want it. Fox Pixar Media?
yeah.
Get out of here.
What the fuck is this?
I don't know, but thank you for sharing. That was awesome. Brian, have you had a chance to see it?
I'm just taking a moment to process this.
You know, I really appreciate the like clay animation. It's really funny.
I don't know what the fuck is going on.
How?
Dude.
I'm not telling anyone to like move away from this and like watch it, but watch it later.
Yeah, we'll leave it in the comments below. And yes, it was 3 hours long.
Oh Lord.
Yeah, so just take your time with it. Brian, how was your week? We were literally just talking about like how we had spent our week. So me and Ariana rewatched like old like Disney movies in preparation for the new expansion of Villainous. Miggs was talking about some of the new games that he was playing. What have you been up to?
A lot of different things. Right now, mainly kind of the studio process right now. Working on new projects, kind of getting things together, meeting people. It's all the small chit chat and organizing details, things like that. And if anything game wise, it's just like playing Final Fantasy is just like I'm addicted right now. Like I come home every day. It's like, is it my turn yet? Can I play yet?
Oh, to play 9?
Yes.
Which I keep forgetting, and now that I have you here, I have a little bit of advice. Make sure to level up your physical party and your magical party equally. There's a reason
Oh,
for
I
this.
haven't gotten a chance. I've just been playing through the story like normal. Like I haven't even gone to the wild.
I'm just letting you know, when you start getting the chance, make sure both are kind of equal levels.
Oh, I know.
Thank me
Oh, I
later.
know. I got this. I got this. But it's just playing. For that reason right there is why I want to play also, because I want to start training them and start leveling up, because I barely know any abilities. So I just spent the last session just looking over armor and bracelets and everything like that. So I was just like, all right, now I'm set to go for sure. Now, what I want to ask is that did I miss the memo? Like, where's my hat?
Oh,
Oh
well,
no.
So
It's
actually,
fine.
we should actually like explain the reason. Well, at least the reason why I'm wearing the hat. So I'm wearing
So
the
you
hat
got
because
Timo.
right. This is Timo from League of Legends, and League of Legends is a game that features, loot crates, and they offer in-game purchases, which I don't have an issue with, loot boxes, which I don't have an issue with, but there is a company, right, that about 2 or 3 weeks ago was kind of having, I don't want to say an interview because it was not an interview, they were at court, and they were defending themselves with their loot crate system. You guys probably have already heard of this, but this is EA in the game.
Sports.
Yeah, so essentially, they're in the UK right now, and they're at court because, that whole system is essentially gambling, and the UK and some other countries are having issues with EA and another company that are really pushing for these microtransactions in their games. And so EA, their whole defense against the whole thing was, hey guys, it's not loot crate. Okay, we're not doing loot crates. We're doing surprise mechanics.
God, why does that make me cringe?
I can't even hold my tongue anymore. This is the level of bullshit that EA is doing. Like, they're comparing it to like the World Cup Panini cards, and that also doesn't make any sense to me.
Dude,
because
they
it's
compared it to Kinder eggs.
Yes,
But it's like you can eat the egg, right? Aren't those chocolate?
yeah, it's just sweet. It's bonus toys. That's not even gambling.
Bro, what are you talking about? You can eat your fist after spending the money.
Dude, the value proposition of FIFA is so fucked, and it bothers me so much. I was that person at one point that was like, okay, it was like FIFA 2012 or 2013. I'm gonna be one of those YouTube guys and stream and do like $100 worth of loot box openings, and then end up with my best player being like a 86 gold card. I bought $100 worth of packs, guys, and my best card was like 86 overall. When you have 99s in the game, not to mention all that other crap that they do where they throw like team of the year and even player of the week, I couldn't even get one of those.
You got one rare card out of $100.
Yeah, and then like getting so obsessed with it that I was looking into like the forums. It's like, yeah, you have to buy at certain times. You have to buy on Tuesdays. That's when they refresh the card pool. And you're like, oh, okay. And then little by little, through failure and failure and failure, not buying $100 at a time, mind you, because that was just for a stream. I wanted to get attention for the channel and stuff. But like, it got to the point where it was like, okay, I'm addicted to this. Like, I'm addicted to the idea of opening up shit.
That's how they get you.
And I stopped. I just stopped. I was just like, okay, I'm not gonna do it anymore. This is not cool to me anymore. Like, this scares me actually. And then, lo and behold, we're 5 years later, and this thing is just ballooned into something that makes more money than the game itself. On Madden, FIFA, they try to do that thing with Battlefront, and thank God that gamers are relatively smart people, and they're like, no, we're tired of this shit. We're tired of these mechanics in these games. And I for one, I would have to say that these games need to come out rated M for mature. If they're gonna have loot boxes in it, you can't have kids having that easy of access to games that advertise this. Because there was another story in the UK this week where a family's savings of like £550 or something just got completely spent by their 3 kids buying packs on the Switch, of all places, for FIFA. And then like the parent went in and bought one $8 pack. He's not the most savvy person in the world. He's not a gamer, right? And it's like one of those things. It's like, you know, Nintendo had to refund these guys. EA wouldn't refund them. Nintendo refunded the parents and apologized that they had such easy access to something like that. And for that reason alone, I know this is like, you know, maybe just one example, but like even feeling from where I felt when I was 25, 26 doing this, and now I don't ever want to buy a loot box again. I only want to buy like skins and stuff. So when Overwatch came out and everybody was in love with it, I bought like a $50 pack of stuff just to get the skins. But even that, man, by the time you get your 3rd Zarya skin in the same color, you're like, this is bullshit.
Yeah.
The random number generator is terrible.
And even if it's a rare Zarya skin, they give you nothing. They give you nothing in like coins, as far as like, here's your reward for getting that kind of sort of rare Zarya skin. Like, here's like $3. Like the equivalent of like GameStop trading.
Yeah.
It's like, I'd rather have kept that, which is what Rocket League does, right? Rocket League lets you keep those skins even if they're duplicates and lets you trade them. And therefore, Rocket League has an economy that you're in control of. And that's cool. But not the way EA does it.
I mean, I honestly feel that like EA just goes to like a new low. Because for me, like, you know, the whole thing with the loot boxes or the... I'm not going to call it whatever the hell they're calling it. It's a loot box system. It's not just a loot box system. Like, the issue that I have is that they add not just cosmetics, but they add full features of games in the loot box, dude. Like, did you guys play Sim 4? If you didn't,
yes,
great. Because if you did, I feel sorry for you. Because Sim 3 was such a fantastic game. Right?
The Sims?
The Sims, yeah, The Sims.
Oh.
So like, Sims 1, it was like, at the time, it was EA's biggest game. Right? All these features, futuristic, it was great. Right? Sims 2 comes out, and they essentially take all the great features from the first game and add on to it, build on top of it, and make a better game. Right? Sims 3 comes out, and they do the same thing. Right? To the point where, like, The Sims 3 was, at one point, considered the greatest game of all time. Right? Sims 4 comes out, or The Sims 4 comes out, and guess what they did? All the features that were given to you with the purchase of the game in The Sims 2 and in The Sims 3, they stripped that away from the base game, and they made it DLC and loot box exclusives. So it's like, cool, you wanted to build a pool? You have to buy this $5 expansion. Oh, you want to add an extra bathroom to your house? $5 expansion. Oh, you want to do this? So every little like feature that you wanted to add that was supposed to come with the game, it was an extra $5. And that shouldn't be. If I spend $60 for a game, I should get the full, the full features of the game. Loot boxes should be for cosmetics. It should be for, little in-game bonuses that add to the fun. It shouldn't be, let's hide Darth Vader in this a 40-hour block that makes it super hard to get in Star Wars Battlefront. Oh, or you can spend, $25 and unlock them right now.
No.
I mean, go.
No, finish up.
No,
Oh.
I'm sorry. What I was gonna, just to finish up my whole side of it. Did you guys ever play Star Wars Battlefront?
Yeah.
I tried the beta, and honestly, the gameplay didn't hook me enough.
It was lackluster.
Yeah,
It was super
like
lackluster.
it was
The
worth
only
buying.
interesting part was the gens. That's about it.
Well,
The
yeah,
rest
like
of the game
so
is pay to win.
you spent the $60, right? You get the game.
Right.
Game comes with 2 modes. You get the first one, which is like the X-Wing mode, right? Where you're like in your ship and you're fighting against other people, right? That's the first mode. The second mode is a one level story mode where you get to pick Darth Vader or Palpatine. And you get to do that one level, fight who you're going to fight, do whatever the hell. But then once that level ended, that's it. It was like a 20-minute run at the best. And so the actual thing for the freaking game was this open world, PvP fight where I can pick my favorite characters from Star Wars and go and have a blast fighting other people with their favorite characters of Star Wars, right? But guess what? All you had was just one dude and the Stormtrooper. You wanted Darth Vader, you needed 40 hours of gameplay to unlock him. And it was almost impossible.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, it was almost impossible to have 40 hours when the two things that you have is the X-Wing PvP mode and the 20-minute... Like, how many times was I supposed to play as Darth Vader before I could unlock Darth Vader?
Yeah, and for completionist sake too, like for the completionist in us, that like we all have one friend, or maybe it's us, that wants 100% a game, and so in a game like that, like we used to play Modern Warfare, me and my friend Jamal, and we would try to like unlock every single attachment for a gun, even before going into a new prestige, knowing that we would lose the attachments. But that was like the level of meticulous that we were for so long. And then to do that in a prestige for Call of Duty maybe took like 60 to 80 hours, maybe less if you were having a real good run with some weapons. But in this game, to unlock everything, you need like 1,000 hours. Like the value proposition, it's like they're purposely making that wall so high that they're offering you a ladder to climb over it. And
right, that's my issue with it.
Cost $25.
Yeah, that's like my issue with it. It's like, yeah, here's like this impossible like tower that you have to climb. Oh, but if you spend like $30, here you go, a skip free ticket.
Nah, it created a culture that's called pay to win. You don't play games for fun anymore. If you want to win, what do? You spend that $25, that $49.99, and get the extra loot so you can come out with the best weapons in the end, or with whatever best material, extra money. It's the same thing. If you're playing Overwatch, which that game is fantastic and the skins are great, but it takes literally 40 hours or more to get close to even buy one skin that's not even legendary, which is the most expensive one there.
That's another game where I kind of have issues with like their loot box system too, because so the only way Ariana was kind of mentioning this to me earlier when we were having this conversation, off the cusp, and so you buy the skins in game, right, with gold, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so the only way you can get those gold is not by winning matches, it's by unlocking and opening loot boxes, right? Yeah. So I can spend $50, get a shit ton of loot boxes, right? And because of now all the little stickers and the graffiti things that they add, it's going to be really hard for me to get a duplicate, right? Because the only way to get gold is if you land and get gold.
Well, no, they've removed a lot of the chances to get golds. They've removed a lot of chances to get duplicates. It's a case of more like the way their loot box system works, since it has all these little things, the chances of you getting the actual skin that you want is pretty low. And not saying that you can't spend like the bare minimum and actually get the skin you want. Hey, that sometimes happens. Hey, there's been times for me, for example, I get a Christmas loot box, instantly get the skin I want, and it's like, okay, well, I'm not going to play the event because I got it. But there are a lot of times where it's like you're sitting there and you have to spend, anywhere from like, let's say $15 to more just to get a skin that you want. And there's no way really for you to buy that skin. You can't go, hey, I have $5 in my pocket, I want that Junkrat skin, here's the $5 for the actual skin I want. No, it's buy this box and hope you get them, or go grind out loot boxes every single week while the event's up and hope that in one of those loot boxes you're gonna get the skin or get enough money, which now because duplicates are lowered and getting actual like hard gold is lowered, it's almost impossible.
Yeah.
Like you gotta wait for the second rerun of an event for when the price drops in the actual skin to get it.
No,
It's insane.
that literally makes it so that the only way that you can get the skin is literally dumping a bunch of money to get enough gold to get the skin. And now, like I said, like we have both mentioned, with them removing gold for the chances of getting gold, them removing the duplicates that you can possibly get, the chances of you actually getting enough gold to unlock the skin, which FYI they increased the cost as well. So it used to be 1,000 gold for a legendary skin. Now it's 3,000.
Oh
No.
wow, that was so 50.
No, it's been 3,000 for all the legendary skins since it came out. The difference was the base legendary skins like the Wolf Hanzo, the I'm trying to think of them, like I know Wolf Hanzo's like a big one. There was one for Zenyatta, which is like the Din
Yeah, like
Din
the original ones that came with the game.
Yeah, those were always 1,000. Those were 1,000 and they've stayed 1,000. But like anything that's been from a Christmas event or whatever, when they first came out, they are always 3,000. They were never cheaper than that.
Okay,
And they
ones
did.
were 3.
Oh, go. Sorry.
No, I'm saying for the event ones were 3, but the legendary big skins, I think they were 12.50.
I can't understand you.
No,
at
they're
all.
not. They're not 1250. They're 3,000. So if it's an event skin, 3,000 gold to get that skin. If it was one of the base ones that came with the game, then it's 1,000 gold. Which
Or if
even
it's
now
a
to get
rerun.
1,000 gold is really hard. Let alone
But
to get
even though-
3,000.
And honestly, EA is like the apex of the problem. Ironically, they have Apex Legends, but no, that
It's
wasn't
the same system.
the real point is that like there are other companies that are following suit. I completely forgot about this week until we were processing this conversation. But like Ubisoft this week banned a bunch of user created XP farming quests in Assassin's Creed Odyssey. They released this tool to let you create your own quest, and some people have been doing these really cool things with it, like actually retelling real history through the game. And then some other people were like, "Hey, this is a single player game. If you want to, buff your character real quick, run my mission a couple times, you'll be max level." And they started banning those quests because it took away from their microtransactions that they have in the shop. Because they specifically have a microtransaction that's an XP boost for the game. And then I was just looking at that now, and I was just like, man, it's not just EA. It's really not. Like, it's the whole community right now. All the big players, all the big AAA players are doing this. And even like something that came out this week that we can say that it was part of our week, right? This Dr. Mario game that came out on
Oh
iOS.
yeah, I was just
for the mobile.
I was
Dr.
literally just about to mention that shit.
Dr. Mario World. I'm sorry, Nintendo. This is ass. This game's ass. And they hit you with the microtransactions when you run out of turns.
Well, that's the thing. It's fun for like the whole first like 2 hours if you're playing the game, and then they demand money because the only way that you're gonna do well is if you have good doctors and if you have good assistants, and the only way to get those is through the in-game shop.
Pay to win.
Right, of course, it's pay to win. But
Pay to win.
I think
Super Mario. What was it again? Mario World on the iOS.
Yeah, Dr.
Super
Mario.
Mario Run.
Well, Super Mario Run, even then, that game was not pay to win. It was just like pay for more stages. That's fine. Like,
right,
I'll
that's
pay
DLC.
for more stages
Yeah.
if I'm happy with the first couple stages, which I was. So I think most people ended up going, okay, we'll throw a couple dollars here because the game is intuitive in a way, and you can't play it with one hand, like like they were saying. But even like Fire Emblem Heroes, right? Is that the one? That's the mobile game, right?
Yeah.
That one was pretty decent, but it was pretty obvious when you got the verses that you're going to be running into people that were these whales that had the money to just spam and spam until they had their team. That was so much better than yours. It was just like.
And it becomes more and more evident every day because all phone games have a problem, and it's not pay to win, it's power creep, which is essentially like, just to break it down, all the older characters kind of become obsolete, or they fall into really niche roles where you don't use them as much, and the new characters that come out are insane. Like, the amount of damage that they do is crazy. A good example for me, taking from another phone game, is One Piece Treasure Cruise. There's a character called Aki Inu. When Aki Inu first came out, the amount of damage that he dealt wasn't necessary for anything in game. Like, he completely destroyed them. And it was a big meme because it was like he came out and it was like every other legend in the game was
Yeah, I remember
garbage.
that. It didn't fucking matter what legend. If you didn't have Akainu, like, you weren't clearing content.
No, it wasn't that you weren't even clearing content. It's that you didn't even need him really to clear content. It's just, do you want to have the easiest time clearing this content? Well, get Aki Inu. Do you want to make a team that didn't require having anyone actually in your team? Because you could get away with, usually in these phone games, there's these things called evolver units. And evolver units, they're not meant for fighting. They have horrible stats. They don't really help you. They don't have, any special abilities. It's like getting a Goomba. It's like you get Bowser and a team of Goombas and you just win because you have Bowser. Is essentially what it was. It was insane.
That. But I honestly, like, out of this whole, like, Loot Crate, like, conversation, like, for me, what really tips EA over the edge is, like I said, the whole feature thing. Like, not to bring back EA, but, like, I just want to quickly take it back to when Miguel was mentioning FIFA earlier. Like, they killed their own. They killed Madden. I don't know if you guys are a fan of Madden or if you guys have played the Madden games. They killed Madden because...
Oh, no. They didn't just kill Madden. They killed every single-player version of the sports titles that they have. So, like, franchise mode or, like what do they call it in FIFA? Fuck it, let's just call it franchise mode on both of them. Like, whatever single-player mode you have where you're a coach and you lead a team and you can trade players and stuff, those have just simply not changed in, like, 5 years. Sorry, go ahead.
No. It's the same point that I was gonna bring up. They did it for FIFA. They did it for Madden. They did it for Need for Speed. Like, I'm so surprised that they did it for that game too. But specifically with Madden, the game has, like, your regular mode where you just fight other teams or whatever. You also have, like, the player mode, but then there's, like, a competitive circuit in which you have to pay in microtransactions for, like, the best cards, which are the players, and that's where you get, like, competitive with other people. And because there's so many microtransactions and all that stuff, they only care specifically for that mode. So there's bugs, there's a whole bunch of, like, code errors, shit that's not supposed to be right. And they don't fix it. They don't care because that's not what's making them money. And I think when a company goes from, like, hey, our customer base, and they stop caring about the customer and they go more for money and they start focusing on money, like, you can tell. And I don't know, like, I don't want to buy any more EA games. Like, I'm just done with them altogether.
I think it's disappointing because it's like I want to support sports titles because I really do agree with there's some people out there that say, you got to be real respectful of the job that these guys do, continuing to make these games every year and keeping them relatively stable. But even that's kind of going away. FIFA was hilariously unstable for months in this release. And I think they only really started fixing stuff in March and April. And it's just like basic stuff that the people that play the game the most, like the YouTube guys, like MGH and even KSI, even though he's moved away from it, like he's talked about this stuff where it's like, we want realistic transfers. We want transfers that are competitive. We want God mode, we want to be able to edit every feature of the game, and they never listen. And I'm pretty sure if they did something like, here's a $5 transaction that you can pay and have God mode, like Football Manager actually has that. And the only reason I bought it was because I was already getting the game for free with Game Pass. But there is a certain thing there where it's like if you're paying to own this game, you kind of deserve to own at least direct power over it as far as like what you can do with it. It shouldn't be so there shouldn't be so many barriers, I guess. And that's what I feel all the time. I feel like there's always a barrier up. Like, why even bother going through Madden's list of missions? Because they literally have missions this year in their game where it's like, hey, play 1/4 of this game and you get a special card. And you can literally build up a decent team. But then I completed the whole season, went online once, and just saw a team that was so much better than me that I knew I was playing against a whale. And I was like, I don't even want to bother. I don't want to bother because there's no point fighting against the RNG when all your players are 10 to 12 points worse than the other team. It's not fun. And on top of that, FIFA will purposely, and EA has these documents that came out. There's one YouTuber, MGH, that plays a lot of FIFA, revealed this document about their RNG and pairing you up with whales. So you would get into these situations where you're playing against those teams on purpose because they want to show you that summit so that you can start climbing it by paying more money. And that was what's so frustrating about EA right now.
Yeah,
even something like Apex that's completely skill based. I don't want to play it anymore because it's so related to EA that.
Yeah, man, it's like I had mentioned. They completely went away from caring about like the player experience, caring about the games that the player is purchasing, and they're focused more on what's earning the money. And if the algorithm for it is, hey, we're gonna put you with other people that have like the pinnacle of perfection, then that's what we're gonna do, because we're EA.
It's surprise mechanics.
I love that you said that.
Keep in mind, guys. I just want to remind you. It's not loot boxes. We don't condone gambling. So it's surprise mechanics. We want you guys to be surprised and delighted. Right.
No, for sure.
But, while you're being surprised and delighted, just slide the money under the table, and we'll take it through that way.
Yeah, but
yeah. I think we should move on though, because like. Ultimately, I think we're kind of like going in circles now.
No, for sure.
There was some interesting news from Nintendo this week that wasn't Dr. Mario World related, but I'll just put out my feelings real quick about it. This Switch Lite, this is kind of like when you're the dominant species and you're just gonna take a couple months off on creativity.
Vacation time.
It's like, yo, I owned the teal Nintendogs DS. That was my very first DS when the DS first came out. I had Phoenix Wright on it. I had Trauma Center on it. Awesome console. I get none of the same vibes looking at this teal Switch Lite because you can't plug it into your TV.
Nope.
You can't play some games on it, which I also believe includes Breath of the Wild. The flagship title for the console.
You can't play Breath of the Wild on it? Well, I guess because
it
doesn't have down graphics.
It doesn't have the gyro.
So you can play without it because it's a feature. It's a setting that you can set in the game.
That's not something I'm aware of yet. But people have been asking it, and Nintendo has not answered that yet. And that kind of bothers me. And also, they were talking about, hey, on the back of the box, you gotta look for this little thing that shows you that Switch Lite, which is just, it looks like a picture of a Switch. Like, how confusing is that going to be for parents? But I don't know, man. To me, it's whack because it's like, hey, we could have just talked about this refresh. There's going to be a better processor. It should last longer. But no terms about 1080p or any of that. Like, they haven't clarified that either, which is...
For what? It's light.
Yeah,
it's kind of
why would you need 1080p? Like, it's the display is a 720 display.
Oh no, I'm talking about in dock mode. In dock mode, like.
Well, yeah, but like
we need better visuals on dock.
That light is not going to get a dock mode though. That's strictly handheld.
Now, yeah, I know. I'm talking about the refresh though. That refresh, they didn't really talk
Switch
the refresh.
Switch Pro.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. I don't think they're really calling it that, but I guess you can call it
that. Rumors.
Yeah. But that's the thing too. Like, I've never seen an announcement for like a console, and then not much else. like hey, we had this thing, and when they first came out with it, remember that they were talking about everything, like, hey, you see how we can rotate the controller, and you can feel every chunk of glass fall into your glass, and you're like, whoa, that's it was like a chunk of ice, and it would fall into your glass, and you're supposed to feel it in the remote, and that was supposed to be how accurate the vibration was in your Joy-Con. Like, there was none of those features. It was just like, hey, we're coming out with this, and it's not going to have half the stuff, and it's only $50 cheaper. Good luck.
There's no other difference behind it. See, that's where it's disappointing. In that case, it's like, how you come up with this same thing? If they went maybe $50 cheaper, I think you said this before. If there was $50 cheaper, then sure, I can see the worth it because it's smaller. You can take a little bit more than your Switch. I mean, if you think about the cases that people take with their Switch, there's a lot of stuff they got to bring. The Joy-Con holders, maybe multiple games. So it's a case, maybe the size of a foot-long sandwich.
I mean, the thing too, they also mentioned that. Well, the only thing that I know for sure is that the Joy-Cons and stuff like that not going to be compatible with this thing. I don't even think they haven't even made announcements of being able to.
Actually, no, they did. They did. It is. You can actually connect it, the Joy-Cons to that, but it works just as controllers. That's it. You can't do much about it.
But then they took away the kickstand, so you can't even stand the damn thing up. Like, that's
the point. Why would you need to stand it up if you can't pair anything to it? It's strictly just handheld.
It's light.
Yeah, and the video, that specific video that they dropped, like their advertising video, was like everyone playing side by side together with their own Switches. Whereas the original Switch was like, hey, here, grab a controller and play with me on my Switch.
Right, that's kind of like the main feature, and they kind of took it away with the light.
That's why I'm so confused of, like, the messaging is just, like, completely opposite of what it was before. I don't get that.
And I'm surprised they didn't announce this in E3. Why did they wait a month later to make an announcement?
Not even at E3. What about their Treehouse announcements where like they actually announced like a bunch of their content?
Yeah, they announced much more content during their Treehouse stuff than they do at their actual like 20-25 minute direct. But the other thing is too, like, what about the whole thing about making their first exclusive console or like collector's edition, the Pokemon edition for Sword and Shield?
Yeah.
This might be the worst Pokemon ever because you can't collect all of them. Like, I want to catch them all, damn it.
No, and the color scheme's kind of whack too. It's like, okay, cool. Here's the new light. We're gonna make it gray, and then the buttons are gonna be reminiscent of the old Switch. They're gonna be blue and red.
It's just to tease you some more, because it's late.
Yeah,
it's like, hey, we took the colors, we took the chunks of plastic that we had to cut the holes in for the Joy-Cons, and repurposed those cutout sections to make them as buttons for the new console. Nice.
Well, I can't think of a better transition than this, Speaking of Stranger Things.
I see what you did there.
You like that?
I see.
Yeah, so speaking of Stranger Things, did you guys please tell me you finished the season?
Well, yeah, but first of all, let's cut it right here and say, if you haven't watched season 3, please turn this off and go watch it.
Yeah, I'm gonna put the little flag warning right now.
One of the first times people ever tell you to like turn us off because it's necessary right now. Please go watch it and then come back and rewatch this. Our episodes will be on YouTube from now on, so you can definitely rewatch these, and we'll be posting the links once they're up. Just to put that out there.
Yeah, I literally just have like a little warning like flagged up for like a couple of seconds.
Yeah,
so
I see
you
it.
guys have been warned.
As you know.
How freaking crazy was that shit? Oh my god!
This boy's so excited.
So I told you guys last week, right? I told you guys last week that they brought the Russians, bro. They brought the Russians.
No, I know.
I knew they were involved all along.
Dude, and like that ending, I was like, I would have been content with them ending it with this season, but man, when they show like the Russians and they show like, oh yeah, we have our own Demogorgon, I was like, oh my god, season 4, and I think they announced that season 4 was gonna be the last one, so you can expect that there's gonna be some shit that's gonna happen.
Oh, a lot of it. Just seeing that end too, just like, yo, so how did they keep it alive after they shut the freaking wall again? That's what I want to know.
Well, is this a Demogorgon or the Mind Flayer though? This was the Mind
No,
Flayer.
this is a Demogorgon. The Mind Flayer, go ahead and died, but so did the Demogorgon dogs.
Right? Yeah.
In the last season,
the Mind Flayer was like the big thing, and then the Demogorgons were like the little like dogs with like the penis heads and the Venus flytrap.
The Venus flytrap faces.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. Well, first off, what did you feel? What did you feel about the new characters this season? Because there was 2 specifically that were just fantastic.
I loved Alexis, the Russian guy with the Slurpees.
Oh, you know what?
Yes.
You know what? I guess you can consider him a third. I considered him more periphery. But I was thinking more about Robin.
Oh, right.
Dude, like her dynamic. It was a really good dynamic to add her in, and like, I love the way they figured things out on this show. It's like, hey, I know like 8 different languages. I can just kind of like wing this, right? And she does, and she cracks a Cold War Russian code. It's so
Yeah.
so ridiculous.
I also love the fact that like, so one of the reasons I liked Alexis as a character was because he gave purpose to another character that honestly we've saw like once or twice, and then we were like, why the hell are you even living in Riverside? Like, and I'm talking, of course, of like the I always forget his name, but the guy who lives in his Murray Bauman or Booman.
Oh, Murray, the writer.
Yeah, like the conspiracy theorist guy who lives like in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Like Alexis gave him purpose.
Definitely gave him purpose, because I felt like last season they really dropped the ball when it was Nancy and Jonathan. They both go over to see him, and they kind of take the side tangent, just like 11. She took her side tangent last season too, but they really didn't amount to anything except to introduce some characters. But this is the only guy that comes back, and I'm so happy for it, because he's just so good.
Yeah, like the acting was great, and I also felt that like him and Alexis had such a great, like, they played off each other so well. Like, I love the scene where they're in the car and they're like heading to like the fair, and in Russian, Murray says, yeah, they haven't had sex yet. And then Alexis and him look at each other and just start laughing holistically. Like, that was such a great scene. That was
That was hilarious. They totally read the room, and those two just couldn't just phase it. They're like, well,
yeah, because like it made it also, like, for me, it also solidified that, like, obviously, Russians have feelings and all that. I'm not saying Russians don't, but like it just made it seem more human. You know what I mean? Because like all the Russians that we've seen so far in the show, all they're doing is like they want to open up the portal. We don't know why. I'm assuming it's for like entrance. They can travel through and get into the United States without us tracking them. For whatever reason,
harnessing more power, energy.
Pretty much the way the show opened, I got a little scared, because I was like, oh, are they gonna make Russians like tone deaf? And they didn't, and that was good. That was
right.
a good thing.
And that's why I like that character so much, because like it just brings like a little bit of human back to like the humanity.
And Brett Gelman's a pretty funny guy. He's been in a lot of movies. He was in The Other Guys, 30 Minutes or Less, and like it's like a bunch of like fringe comedies, but still comedies. So I was happy to see him, because he kind of reminds me of like a poor man's Paul Giamatti.
You're right.
But obviously, you can't really break the bank when you already have some of the stars you have on this show. Not to mention the show being a lot bigger, so you're running into that whole, like, I guess the same problem that they ran into on Game of Thrones, where they had to start paying these guys a lot more money, even though they're all relatively new actors and actresses. I bet you the kids are making like at least 3 or 4-fold versus what they made in season 1.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, it's the popularity,
Yeah.
and also too the kids are kind of carrying the show.
Oh, for sure.
Well, it's centered around them, so I mean they kind of have that weight already put on them since season 1.
Well, I feel like the show is actually centered more around the town itself, right? Like Riverdale, like the shit that's happening in Riverdale, but it's through the eyes of the kids.
I feel like this season more than like some others, like it felt like this was more Hopper than anything.
Yeah, I
It was just a
agree.
ton of
I
Hopper.
agree.
For sure.
That's
For
a
sure.
bad thing. Hopper's my boy. Hopper was Captain America this season. He clotheslined the guy so hard that he made him flip. Like, bruh. And he's fighting this Terminator-looking motherfucker. That was great.
So,
He
so,
took a hell of a beating, too.
So let me ask you this then, because Hopper was your boy. Hopper was my boy too. Did you before this season did you ship Hopper and Joyce?
What?
Did you ship Hopper and Joyce?
Did
Will's
I
mom?
ship?
Will's mom. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
What do you mean by ship?
yeah.
Ship,
What do you mean
like
by ship?
it's ship is a term commonly used in anime. Like, did you see them as like a relationship couple before the season?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Oh,
Yeah.
since season 1, I called it.
So, since season 1, I felt like he was just gonna steal it from the Hobbit, and then the Hobbit died, so it kind of left everything open for him. So
It was a little too easy on that one.
No, but all joking aside, dude, like Hopper was such a badass this season. He was such a badass. Dude,
Especially with that porn stash, it was amazing.
oh yeah, the 80s porn stash.
Yeah, he was rocking it. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Nah, man, but just like, you know, busting into the base, like,
dude,
my
not even that. Not even that. We were going way too fast. Rewind back to the mayor. His interaction with the mayor.
You're right.
Oh,
That escalated quickly.
he was having no bullshit. He just went in and is like, okay, this is what's gonna happen.
I'm not gonna lie, like, when he put his finger through the little cigarette hole, like, I was already like cringing. Like, I was like, ooh,
Are we gonna see that?
yeah. Oh, every time he lifted his hand, I was like, game over. This is where I stopped. Game over.
And then he slams the table at the end. You're like, ugh.
Oh yeah, for sure. That was such a release. That was such a relief.
Well,
my
he
God.
fucking broke his nose, and the mayor's like, "Oh, you broke my nose!" It's like, no shit. What things gonna happen when you take a headbutt to the face? You
So
just showed them no mercy.
It's just crazy because, like, even like it was hard to feel like a connection between like the Russians until the mayor started showing up in the show, and like you start getting all this info kind of like leaked to you, and you start realizing like the Russians pretty much own Hawkins.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They
pretty
own-
much.
They own the most expensive property there, and then they have an underground lab leading to the old Hawkins lab, and it's just like, dude, they own Hawkins. And it's like,
No, not just that. I feel
This
like
is an invasion.
yeah, I feel like it's not just Hawkins. It's like they're working on opening the rift on their end in Moscow, or you know, wherever. I think it was Moscow. They're opening the rift on their end. They're opening the rift on our end. They own us pretty much.
Yeah, until all that crap just happened. How do you feel about the bad guy this season? Like, how do you feel about the Mind Flayer pretty much being in complete control of Billy?
So I was actually gonna bring it up. Like, I actually like. Okay, so not. The
I'm glad
plot-
you brought that up.
Not the plot point, but I loved the acting that Zachary Montgomery did with Billy this season. Like, I felt like it added an extra like layer to the character. You know what I mean? Like, Zachary, he can play a douchebag.
No,
But-
he played everything this season. He cried. He was Rico Suave in the beginning. And then he played like this kind of robotic, creepy bad guy.
which also kind of reminded me of the Terminator. That serious face, like it's gonna.
Yeah, he had a little bit of that going on.
Yeah.
And then the redemption at the end, it's like, oh.
Yeah, the redemption killed me. Oh my god!
Seriously.
Well, I'm sure. I was about to say that, but yeah, it killed him too. But man, I mean, his acting was superb. It really sold the story. It made the gap. And speaking of the mind flare itself, or however you want to term it, was itself like the CGI was amazing. It was disgusting. It was horrifying. I felt like if you were in Upside Down world and you saw him in his own planet, his own real form, I think it's something like along those lines.
Yeah, it definitely was creepy, and it looked convincing.
The whole scene in the hospital where Nancy and Jonathan are like isolated.
Oh my god, yeah.
And like the kids are looking for him, but you don't know if they're gonna get to him in time, and like they're both on verge of death, and they're both fighting like people that they know, but they know that they're possessed, and they don't really have a choice. They're gonna have to actually like kill these people. Because I'm thinking at some point they were figuring if we can get to the mind flayer, we can actually save these people. But no, you're not gonna save Gary Busey's son.
It's not gonna happen.
What about the scene where 11 is in the mall, literally on the floor, the mind flayer's like in her leg. This dude starts to heat up a knife. Oh my god, when his hand goes in her leg, I closed my eyes for like a good 4 or 5 seconds because I couldn't.
And she's like, no, if anyone's gonna do it, I'm gonna do
it. It's like, I can do it. And then you see it just reminds me of like the movie Alien, how they would lay the eggs inside of you, and it's just like, oh my god. Yeah. Imagine if they made its way up your leg, you just see it crawling under your skin.
Like another thing too that I'm curious about is that, so Will hasn't had the monster like in him, right? And the monster left his body, but he's still able to like feel the monster. Like that was weird, right? Like it's not just
I think the mental connection is what stayed. Physically, he's no longer in Will, but once you kind of make that, I guess that connection, that sixth sense, I guess, for lack of a better word, that mental connection, it's just like you can't break it. It's a bond.
No, yeah, but he was very specific with his words, right? Like it wasn't just like, hey, I can feel that he's here. He was like, hey, I can feel like on the back of my neck, all my organs dropping, like if I was free falling.
The whole season was him doing this.
Yeah, pretty much. That and can we play D&D? Can we play D&D?
It's like, but I love that part. I love that part too. Like that whole thing. I was telling you guys that last week. Is like, this kid wanted to play so bad. He just wanted to go back to normalcy. He's been through so much shit, and these guys are like they're just so totally enamored with their girlfriends.
Oh man!
And I dump your ass.
Yeah, I actually cried a little bit when it was like raining, and he goes back to like his fort, and he like starts to tear up like the pictures of him with his friends, and he's like, oh, this is all stupid, and then he walks outside and he starts like. I actually cried. Like, I felt for him.
He started dripping apart. Speaking of like finales in the scenes, what do you think about the finale? How the fact that when the Mind Slayer took the captives, what happened to the actual person once they were destroyed? Do they get back to normal, or they're just dead?
No, I don't think. Dude, they turned to Jello.
Yeah. The moment they gelatinized, that was it.
Can we think it for a minute? These are people who just become gelatinous beings, and they're gone from the series forever. They're dead. Like how serious could you get on a show like that? Like you just turn them into goo.
You're definitely gonna miss the old lady who was eating fertilizer. Like
yeah,
you're definitely gonna miss her.
You're gonna miss Juicy.
What? Can someone explain to me why the fertilizer? Why?
I think it was just. I think it was just readily accessible. There was a lot of it.
They were just using it for fuel, I guess.
Yeah.
But why didn't the old lady always maybe eat the people too, or eat brats or meat?
Well, they did. They ate the people from the inside out, I guess, that way. Like, they needed the people to bring the fuel to the entity, essentially. It felt very... That part felt more Parasite Eve than anything in Parasite Eve.
So, quick question. How did you guys feel about, like, the for lack of a better term, like the anti-venom, like the how to destroy the monster. Because I felt that like just closing the rift was such a cop out.
I mean, how else are you gonna defeat a monster that's 11 foot tall, maybe 20 foot tall, monster standing above you with one girl who can barely, lift up a cart?
Well, no, like I understand the plot point. I'm just saying, like, you have this monster, right? Like just bear with, you have this monster, right, who's living in Riverdale, right, and he's feeding off of whatever the hell he can get his hands on, right? He has this guy who's constantly feeding him people, right? So he has a thing, right? In the first or second season, he built a network in the sewers that was like an extension to the other world, right? And so we're gonna close the portal, and that's what kills me.
Yeah, I agree with it. You know why? Because it's just like one of those things where if you're just looking at it objectively, this is not Mind Flayer at 100%. Even like you can argue that even at his full strength in this season, he wasn't full strength. He was probably more close to like 50 or 60%. And this was kind of like a desperate attempt to try to win his war. But I don't think he was ever strong enough like he was in season 1, where like the moment they closed that gate, he like a lot of him died. But he just kind of had this entity, and he built up his strength, kind of like through his powers, but not through himself, so to speak.
I agree, but what about how come more
it.
Demogorgons didn't come out either? Why only just one? The Demogorgons.
Oh, the dogs? The demo dogs?
Yeah.
The demo dogs.
The demo dogs.
If you're a bad guy and you realize that they lose their strength, or they die completely when the gates close, then you don't have that option anymore.
No, not just that, but the rift wasn't open that much either. It was open for it was just a very sliver. So I'm pretty sure he just had enough strength to get himself out.
Yeah, that's pretty much what he did. He just got out and he tried to like, you know what? I feel like the Mind Flayer's powers in that scene kind of mimic one of the characters from Hunter x Hunter. I forget his name at the moment. It was the butterfly dude in the series where he could split himself into tiny versions of himself.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
It wasn't Pito, because Pito was the cat.
Yeah.
But anybody that watches the show knows what I'm talking about. But it pretty much is, if you don't know,
Pito was nasty, was pretty much the veins.
Yeah, dude. His ability was pretty much that he could
Shia Poof.
Yeah, Shia Poof. So
there you go.
He could take over people with his little dust, but like he gave up so much of his life force to someone that he was trying to protect that he became weaker. And so I see that parallel with. I know it's a really weird stretch, but I see that parallel with the Mind Flayer.
I see what you're saying. As he became one, and talk about the cop out, just to kind of circle back. I see. I wholeheartedly agree. Even the fight scene to like destroy was just like, so they're just gonna fight it, and then he's gonna blow up the machine. Okay.
Yeah, honestly, I just feel like it was two factions between the kids and Super Week 11, and this desperate form of the Mind Flayer that really wasn't all that strong. Mm-hmm. It was just like he wasn't ready, but they forced his hand, and so he's gonna come out with what he has.
Why did 11 get stronger? Also,
I think it got stronger. I also think it wasn't, comparatively speaking to what it was in like previous seasons. Like if she was fighting him on his plane, like you said, probably a different story. You know? And
in his own home territory, be strong, and also too, this was a percentage of him. It wasn't him at his full strength. In addition to that, it's been years. It was 3 years between the last season and this season. So 11 had a whole bunch of time to like just not only practice her powers, but to build up strength. Because she didn't have to really use it unless it was like something minor, like crushing a soda can or some shit.
Yeah. And did 11 lose her power?
Yes,
I don't know, man. I don't know. At first, I thought it was, maybe she used up too much of her powers, like to take the Mind Flare out. But
maybe she was also dependent on the rift being open and having access to that realm's power. So now that the realm is completely shut, or at least shut in her vicinity, that she doesn't have access to it anymore. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in season 4. If what we're expecting is the American mentioned in the after credits is Hopper, and he's like in some gulag in Russia.
Oh my god!
And how do they even reach him at that point?
Dude,
how do they even know?
What if the Mind Flare took her powers? Because all of that literally happened right after the Mind Flare came out of her body.
I don't think Mind Flare took her powers. I think her powers are related to his realm. So when they closed the realm again for the second time, this actually affected 11 more.
Well, but then explain this. But then
the leech in her leg.
But then explain this, because at the end of season 2, she was the one that closed the rift, and then for 3 years she still had psychic powers with the rift closed. So if it was dependent on the rift being open, then she wouldn't have been able to do all the things that she's been able to do until the start of season 3.
Maybe
that's why I was saying it could be possible. It could be possible that the lich, or the little leech that was inside of her leg, when she extracted it, took her powers.
Ah, man, that could be one of them. But I feel like she killed it.
But she took the leech out of the legs with her powers, so ergo she shouldn't have been able to take it out of her leg in the first place.
Well, no, because the leech was still inside of her, so it was still one. It wasn't until after he extracted it, threw it away, and then with the force of doing that was the end of her powers.
Let me ask you something. What kind of noise or what kind of texture would it feel if you guys would just stop on it? When you guys saw that, what did you guys think? What was the first thought that crossed your mind? Real quick. Go ahead, Gio.
I felt like Hopper was fucking stomping a fucking cockroach, like a.
Migs?
Yeah, same.
I know where this is going. Fucking. Is that? Yeah, Jesus Christ.
That face that Migs make is the same voice, the same face that he made when he saw that scene.
That's the sound. That's the sound that happens if Hopper would have continuously stomped it. So if you were reversing, just do this. That's what it would have been.
I feel like I want you guys to imagine Jello within a Jello within a Jello.
Oh God, no!
Right, and each one is just filled with maybe grape jelly, and it's been sitting there rotting.
Wow.
So
what the fuck? Where is this going?
I just want to paint a picture in your head one more time, because that seems delicious. It made me hungry.
Why? Why does that make you hungry?
Joking.
By the way, there's a whole lot of product placement in this season.
Oh, right.
I'm not gonna ignore that.
Oh, you mean the and then the argument on classic versus new Coke.
Oh yeah.
And Burger King and half the shots in the background. Radio Shack.
But
look, guys, I'm not about product placement, okay?
You're right, bud. Neither am I.
No.
Oh my God.
Oh Jesus. None of them paid us for that. We shouldn't do that for free again.
You just gave them free advertisement. Good job.
What did you guys think at the end? Was this the best season so far? I thought so.
Yeah, definitely for me. I've been telling everybody. For the longest time, I thought season 1 was the best season. Then it was season 2. Honestly, this has been my favorite season. So my order would be season 3, season 1, then season 2.
That's not a bad order. I think season 3 tied up a lot of nice loose ends, but at the same time left good questions to be asked. Especially with this, if you watch through the entire credits and everything like that in the last episode, and you get that little last clip.
And what about your favorite scene?
Ooh,
My favorite scene.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I won't lie to you. It's like the most random one. It's the one where when when they go shopping to buy 11 a gift as a sorry gift, and then they found a golden teddy bear, and they find out, sir, how much? They think it's like maybe there's like $3 or $1,
$300.
Yeah, they walk out $300. And then he just getting dumped right outside the mall. And I like how Eleven says it. I dump your ass.
I really hope that you and me don't have the same favorite scene, Miguel, because like I said, Hopper's my boy.
Hopper's my boy, but Dustin singing.
Oh my god! Oh my god! I didn't know I wanted that.
So uncomfortably great. It's just like cringing and smiling at the same time. I didn't know I could do that. I was like,
it's fantastic. So left field.
No, for me, my favorite scene, it just happened to be the saddest one too, was right at the very end where Elle's reading like the note that Hopper left her.
yeah.
Dude, that broke me.
If you can just keep the door 3 inches open. The meme for that is so good, by the way.
Oh
yeah, I love the memes.
With the quote, keep the door 3 inches open, and then me, and it's just 5 different versions of 11 crying on a beach.
But there was seagulls.
Great, man. Oh man. Oh, no, that broke me. That was like I ended up crying then because like I was just feeling the pain.
No, I cried too, and Ariana was like crying like a bitch. Like she was like, yeah, it was such a powerful scene.
But so that means 11 went with the Byers family and they left town.
Yes, I think Joyce adopted her.
Joyce adopted her, for lack of a better word, yeah, because like, and I agree with it. I agree with the decision even before it happened. Like she was ready to leave, and why wouldn't you leave? Like all this crap's happening, and it's in this town. It doesn't. You don't have to be part of it, you know.
Yeah, they get out. Otherwise, it's just another might fly around too.
Yeah, or dealing with like losing your son again, which she fought so hard to get him back.
I kind of want to see how this is going to affect Will though, because he's been like ever since finding 11 has been inseparable from her.
Oh, you mean Mike?
Yeah, Mike. I said
Mike.
Will.
Mike. Will.
Yeah.
No, it's Will Byer, isn't it?
No, it's Will Byers.
Will Byers is the one that had the lich, right? Mike is the one dating her.
That's right. Right.
So now do Will and 11 hook up? Do you get like love triangle stuff? Oh my god!
No.
It's like I can feel you inside of me.
Oh god, it's like I can feel you, and I know you can feel me.
Dear God.
And then the product placement, like oh my god.
Yeah. Do you want a crunch bar? What was the thing that he offered her? Was it M&Ms? Does your species eat chocolate M&Ms?
Yeah. Does your species eat peanut M&Ms?
I look at my girlfriend at that point because she loves chocolate M&Ms. I love peanut. I'm like, yeah, you are a different species.
Oh my god.
Man. But you know, it's midnight, which means it's the start of Prime Days, and so we should probably call it a day and start shopping.
Yeah, you're right. I've actually been pretty excited for it.
So thanks for watching the episode. For everyone that watched, thank you. We're gonna have this up on YouTube, like we said. Everything we do live from now on automatically will upload there, and we should be making it public relatively shortly. If you watched it live, great. If not, it'll be up by like tomorrow or something. Tomorrow, Brian, Final Fantasy 9. Oh, I think
Nani datebayo.
He's muted. Well,
let me ad-lib for him. Yeah, sure, guys. I'll be more than happy to stream Final Fantasy 9 for you guys. Oh my god. It is me, the worst Brazilian, Brian.
Oh, of course it works now.
Yes. Good. It's your favorite Brazilian and the best Brazilian that you know, Brian. And yes, I'm excited to stream Final Fantasy 9. I think I've been itching already to kind of play through because I want to start leveling up my characters. So thank you, Timo. Why don't you go laser your mushrooms outside, in the forest where no one can find you?
You address me as such. Captain Timo, okay? Captain Timo.
I'm sorry, Squid Girl's not around.
Thank you guys for joining us so much, and hope that you guys tune in next week where we will continue the discussion. and with that, we're calling it a night. Brian, no, stop. Stop it!
Never.
Right. Bye, guys. Thanks for joining us.
Good night.
Night.
Oh.